You gotta turn that down. Turn that down. Talking about unaliving and all that other stuff. Shit. Turn that down. Go. You can go in your room and watch that or something if you're gonna try to be smart and watch it anyway. Hold on. I don't know why it's doing this. I'm actually trying to see it went live instead of.
If someone says I told you so, then what is destiny? Cause if I know, then I can show the very best of me. Dividing lines, dividing times, sometimes not our choosing. If we want more, we should explore. There will be no losing. Let love guide you. Let love be the light. Let love guide you. Let love be the light. Let love guide you. Let love be the light. It's inside you, shining day and night. If someone says I know the way, should we just go follow? Or do the ones who take the lead end up feeling hollow? Blurring lines and blurring times, this is what they're doing. Cause if we know inside our hearts, then it's worth pursuing. Let love guide you. Let love be the light. Let love guide you. Let love be the light. Let love guide you. Let love be the light. It's inside you, shining day and night. Na, 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 na.
So if you guys don't know, the files was released. So they have gave permission to release the files of Epstein. So we're gonna try to catch some of that now, and then we're going to get into other stuff too. So we're gonna look for a nice little clip we can find. This is basically Maxwell's interview. I don't know if this is.
I mean, have you seen there's photographs, public photographs of Mr. Epstein and President Trump together?
Yeah.
And there's photographs of, I think you're in some of the photographs as well. Those all appear to be social settings.
Yes.
Do
That's my memory. If there were social settings, I don't know if Epstein's, if he had, whatever the nature of the president's friendship, if you will, or however you want to define that with Epstein, I never witnessed. I think they were friendly, like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in any of, I don't recall ever seen him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
When's the last time you think you saw in person President Trump?
It's been a long time. Probably not. Sometime in the mid 2000s maybe, and it would only have been a social setting as far as I recall.
And did you ever hear Mr. Epstein or anybody say that President Trump had done anything inappropriate with masseuses or with anybody in your world?
Absolutely never. In any context.
Do you know whether masseuses from Mar-a-Lago Spa ended up giving massages to, private massages to Mr. Epstein? And I'm not asking what you may have read, but from at the time, from your personal knowledge, do you know whether that's true?
I don't recall. Is it possible? Yes. But I don't remember that. So I don't recall that, but it's possible.
Do you have recollection of you ever recruiting a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago Spa to go give a private massage to Mr. Epstein?
I've never recruited a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago for that, as far as I remember. I can't ever recruit them, do you know?
So, once again, it's another wild goose chase, you might as well say. Different people are reporting different things about it. President Trump did take some questions today, but not pertaining to this, so we'll listen to that.
I see the money that these soccer players, we call it soccer, but I see the money that these soccer players are making. I may try and play. I'm a very good athlete. My son is a very good athlete, and he's a good soccer player. He's on the tall side for soccer. He's 6'9".
Everything is still the same. It's 93 trips, 87 trips. All of it's the same. It's nothing there. It's nothing there. It's a wild goose chase.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be.
She didn't say anything. She said Trump was a gentleman.
To attend the event are concerned about the visa situation. Can you reassure them?
Now we can stop barking up that tree. Let's move on.
Certain countries are going to be very, very easy, and other countries are going to be obviously a little bit more difficult. Would you like to explain that, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a process set up that we'll be implementing on getting visas approved. Everybody will be thoroughly vetted, but they'll be welcome to this country. It'll happen quickly, and we're excited for them to come. So I would hope that around the world, people know that the United States is excited to bring their family here to enjoy this event.
America welcomes the world.
Yes.
And I can relay from the collaboration that we have testified for that. Absolutely.
I mean, in the age of disinformation and misinformation, everything can be calculated.
He's been very respectful of me and of our country, but not so respectful of others. But he'll, I'm going to sign this for him, but I was sent one, and I thought you'd all like to see it. That's a man named Vladimir Putin, who I believe will be coming, depending on what happens. He may be coming and he may not, depending on what happens. We have a lot of things happening over the next couple of weeks. But I thought it was a nice picture of him. Okay of me, but nice of him. So that was very nice that it was sent to me. Okay? Mr. President, yes.
Have you talked to Vladimir Putin about the fact that yesterday a big U.S. factory was hit in a Russian airstrike in Ukraine? What's your reaction to
I
that?
told him I'm not happy about it, and I'm not happy about anything having to do with that war. I settled 7 wars, and actually, if you think about pre-wars, add 3 more, so it would be 10. I thought this would be in the middle of the pack in terms of difficulty. Now, I'm not happy about anything about that war. Nothing. Not happy at all. We'll see what happens. I think over the next 2 weeks, we're going to find out which way it's going to go. And I better be very happy.
Mr. President, I had a very good call.
I better be very happy.
Canada yesterday morning.
Yes.
This better makes me happy.
Place some retaliatory tariffs.
He's removing his tariffs, yeah. He's removing his retaliatory tariffs, which I thought was nice. And we're gonna have another call soon. Yeah, we had a very good call.
We're getting closer in towards the
Well, I like
film
them.
trade.
I like them. You know, look, I'm fighting for the United States. Canada and Mexico take a lot of our business over the years, over 25, 30 years, especially during the Biden years. They took a lot of our business, and it's basically all coming back into the United States now. Well, hot as a pistol, and it's coming back in. Because of tariffs and the incentives we give, it's coming back. And it's impossible, I think, for another country to stop it. And we are working on something. We want to be very good to Canada. I like Carney a lot. I think he's a good person. And we had a very good talk yesterday, so I think it'll be good.
Mr. President, I have a question about the search of Ambassador Bolton's home. The Vice President recently just did an interview saying that it's about classified documents, but that there's also broad concern about him. What are the concerns?
Well, I haven't spoken to Pam and the group yet, but I will be. I saw that just like everybody else. I try and stay out of that stuff. I'm allowed to be, and I'm chief law enforcement officer, believe it or not. You know, I don't like to go around saying that, but I am. That's the position. But I purposely don't want to really get involved in it. I'm not a fan of John Bolton. I thought he was a sleazebag, actually. And,
Chief law enforcement.
Suffers major Trump derangement syndrome, but so do a lot of people, and they're not being affected by anything we do. I don't know anything about it. I just saw that. I'll find out about it. But if you believe the news, which I do, I guess his house was raided today, but my house was raided also. Paul Mar-a-Lago. They went through everything they could, including my young son's room and my wife's area. They went through her drawers, as the expression goes. They went through everything you can imagine. And when she came back, she said, she's very neat, you know, she's meticulous. And she looked and she said, whoa, this wasn't the way that she had it. So, you know, so I know the feeling. It's not a good feeling. Thank you.
Mr. President, on Ukraine, how long will you give Putin?
A couple of weeks. We're going to figure it out. We'll find it.
Do you think you'll have to intervene at some point?
Look, it takes two to tango. You understand that. I wanted to have a meeting with those two. I could have been at the meeting, but a lot of people think that nothing's going to come out of that meeting. You have to be there. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. But we're going to see. In the meantime, people continue to die. But I've solved 7 of them where they were in wars for 31, 35, and 37 years. We had 3 of them that were for more than 30 years, Johnny, and I got them solved. And we solved one that could have been a nuclear war with India and Pakistan. That was getting ready to be a nuclear war. I solved them all. And this one, I thought we would have had it done by now, but it's more different. There's a lot of anger, a lot of hatred. There's a tremendous amount of hatred there. So. But we'll see what happens. I think in 2 weeks we'll know which way I'm going. Because I'm going to go one way or the other. And they'll learn which way I'm going.
Mr. President.
If I got 2 questions for you, one on FIFA, the other one on DC. Can you talk about the economic impact that FIFA will have in these cities, and what's your message to the mayors to get their cities prepared, not only the beautification process, but also the safety aspect?
Well, Los Angeles is an example. You know, it's poorly run. We have a mayor there that can't even get permits to the people that lost their houses. Lee Zeldin got every permit. The hardest permit is the federal permit. Within 20 days, every single permit was there for the people to build their houses. But people are writing us and they're saying they won't give us. The mayor is incompetent. The governor's incompetent. You know, Gavin, I know Gavin very well. He's an incompetent guy with a good line of bullshit. And he doesn't get the job done. And frankly, those people want to build their houses. It's terrible. They could have been built. Some of them could have been built already. But think of it, the federal government that has the most complex part, and it's the most complex environmental thing to do. We got it, everybody had it within 30 days. And they're not even close to getting their permits. And now they're talking about taking some of those sites and building low-income housing on them. These are high-end neighborhoods. And I'm all for low-income housing. I built a lot of low-income housing. I know all about 236. I know every program that there is in the government. I used every one of them. I know more about low-income housing than probably almost anybody. And it's great. It's fine. It's wonderful. But you don't build it in Pacific Palisades. You don't build it there, and you don't build it in the other areas that burned down. So they're talking about putting up low-income housing. And you talk about riots. They're going to have riots if that happens because you're taking the people's property away. They want to build their houses and they're unable to get permits from the mayor and from the governor. And that's a terrible thing. But, and let me tell you, if I didn't send in the troops in Los Angeles, Johnny wouldn't be in Los Angeles. You wouldn't be having your World Cup there. I sent in the troops and we kept it. And even the police commissioner, the sheriff and the police commissioner, they all said the same thing. They said, we could have never handled what was happening. You saw that, you were there. He said, we could have never handled what was happening. And then you hear Gavin Newsom, after it's all quelled, you hear Newsom get up and said, we could have done this for ourselves. No, they couldn't have. And if they could have, I wouldn't have taken the chance either.
Okay, my second question is on crime prevention. Would you be open to expanding the national concealed carry to apply to DC like it does in other states like Texas?
Yeah. Well, they have it in some states and they feel strongly about it. As you know, I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, that's a big question. Where is the homeless? Where do they put them?
Very simply. People have to.
Just the surrounding states?
Especially like in Washington, you walk
Virginia?
down the street, a guy comes up and slugs you, he's got a pistol in his hand. You can be tough, you can be in great shape, you can be a powerful person, or you can be a guy that weighs 100 pounds with a gun in your hand. And I'll bet on the guy with the gun 100% of the time, right? And so you need protection. So I'm a Second Amendment person all the way. Yeah, please.
President Trump, you said this morning that you're working with Congress to get $2 billion to help clean up DC. Have you had any conversations with Mike Johnson?
Please don't put all caps.
Which money?
Please don't put all caps. That's for the mods.
Yeah, I've spoken to Mike Johnson, I've spoken to John Thune, the Senate, the House, and I think it's going to be very easy to get. It's going to be not a lot of money. I wouldn't even know where to spend the number that you mentioned, but it's going to be money to beautify the city. Yeah? They're ready. Everybody wants to save DC. In one way, it's the easiest. The violence was more than any other city in the country, actually, by far. It may have been more than any other city in the world, if you could think. We looked at some of the worst cities in the world, it was worse. And that's why it angers me to see the mayor saying about how they have it on the slide. Not on the slide, it was worse than ever. Yeah, we have no problem getting that money. That money will come out of Congress. I think it'll be even bipartisan. I mean, I would imagine Democrats would vote for that one.
Is the plan to get it before the September 30 spending deadline on the Hill?
Well, I don't know if there is a deadline, because if I declare a national emergency, which this was, that ends the deadline. So, I mean, I keep seeing about a 30-day deadline, of which we have 22 days left or something. But if I think we're in great shape here, that's one thing. But if I don't, I'm going to just say it's a national emergency. And if I have a national emergency, I can keep the troops there as long as I want. If people are not going to want to have the troops in 30 days, it's one thing to get them out. It's another thing to keep them out for a long period of time. You've got to train people. You can't do this. You can't bop people over the head. And a lot of those people are in courts right now, going to court. They're going to go to jail for a long time. So that's going to take more than 30 days. But if I have to, I'll declare a national emergency, which I don't think I'll have to do. Yeah.
Mr. President, you said in 2 weeks you'll know whether you go.
Yeah, I think I'll know the attitude of Russia and, frankly, of Ukraine. It takes two.
Where are the 2 ways you can go at the end of 2 weeks then?
Well, then I'm going to make a decision as to what we do.
And
it's going to be a very important decision. And that's whether or not it's massive sanctions or massive tariffs or both. Or do we do nothing and say it's your fight? Look, I would have never been in this war if I were president. You wouldn't have had this war. It was never going to happen. This was caused by stupid people that fought. And people say, well, how do we know? Because for 4 years, it was never even a subject. And Vladimir knew, and you see his picture right here. It was nice that he sent, but Vladimir knew very strongly we wouldn't have stood for it. It wouldn't have happened. 100% wouldn't have happened, but it did happen. And now they're losing from 5 to 7 young kids. Think of it, you're a parent and your son is leaving. He's Russian or he's Ukrainian. And he's leaving and they're waving goodbye. Nice, beautiful kid. Nice crew cut, all set, he wants to be a soldier. And goes there, first week he has his head blown off. And he's no different than you people, me. And it doesn't matter where. I mean, I solved a problem in the Congo that was vicious. Rwanda and the Congo, the Republic of the Congo, and they were fighting for 31 years, and it was machetes. People were getting their heads chopped off. That was going on for 31 years. I got it solved. You saw it. They came to the White House and we signed an agreement. It was amazing. People can't believe we got it done. I love to stop killing. I really do. People thought it would be just the opposite. Hillary Clinton said, oh, he'll get us into a war. No, I'm getting everybody else out of wars.
Are you saying there's a real possibility then that you do nothing if Putin doesn't come to the table for a ceasefire or try to end the
I'll see
war?
whose fault it is. If there are reasons why, I'll understand that. I know exactly what I'm doing. We're going to see whether or not they have a meeting. That'll be interesting to see. And if they don't, why didn't they have a meeting? Because I told them to have a meeting. But I'll know in 2 weeks what I'm going to do. I have pretty good ideas.
Your Justice Department is also sending some of the Epstein files over to the House Oversight Committee today. Are you in support of them releasing all of them?
Keeping it open.
If they wanted to
Innocent
release...
people shouldn't be hurt, but I'm in support of keeping it totally open. I couldn't care less. You got a lot of people that could be mentioned under those files that don't deserve to be. People, because he knew everybody in Palm Beach. I don't know anything about that, but I have said to Pam and everybody else, give them everything you can give them, because it's a Democrat hoax. It's just a hoax. The whole Epstein thing is a Democrat hoax. So we had the greatest 6 months, 7 months in the history of the presidency, and the Democrats don't know what to do, so they keep bringing up that stuff. But it affected them. Bill Clinton was on his plane and went to the island supposedly 28 times. I don't want to bring that up, frankly. You have Larry, whatever his name is, Summers, the head of Harvard, who was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. Nobody ever talks about that. But I don't want to hurt Larry Summers, but he was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. No, this is a Democratic hoax to try and get the significance of what we've done over the past 7 months. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They say it's #1 in history. What we've done, including stopping 7 wars. I mean, just include that. And now you look at the stock market today, it's way up to start off with from where I took it. And this market was going to crash. If Joe Biden or Kamala were president, this market, we would have had a crash like in 1929. You're not going to have that. It's only a question of how high is it going to go. You know, I had the strongest economy in the history of our country. And despite COVID, we had the strongest economy in the history of our country. And we're going to blow it away this time. I was always good at making a lot of money. And whether it was for myself or whether it was, I like doing it this way better. I mean, I like making it for the country. Our country has been ripped off by friend and foe, nations all over the world ripped off. And the friends have been much worse than the foes for the most part. And they're not ripping us off. We just signed a deal with the European Union. They're paying us essentially $950 billion, like a signing fee. They're going to buy $750 billion worth of energy. They weren't buying much of our energy there. And they're very smart in doing it. And as you know, Ursula was here a couple of days ago having to do with the people, the leaders that we had a great, people said they've never seen anything like it. Well, we had the leaders of Europe right here in the Oval Office. And she's so happy that she has an agreement. But people aren't ripping us anymore. We're run by, this country is run by smart people now.
So President, in Israel...
Two questions. One is about Intel. There have been reports that you're considering taking a stake in Intel. Can you tell us
About the 10%?
About the 10%.
Yeah, I met a man, he was a very nice man, and I called for his removal because I saw something by a man named Tom Cotton, a senator from Arkansas. He's a great guy, friend of mine, supporter of mine, big supporter. I'm a supporter of his too. And he wrote a pretty nasty story about the head of Intel. And I said, well, if that's right, he should resign. And he came in, he saw me, we talked for a while. I liked him a lot. I thought he was very good. I thought he was somewhat a victim, but you know, nobody's a total victim, I guess. And I said, you know what? I think the United States should be given 10% of Intel. And he said, I would consider that. I said, well, I'd like you to do that because Intel has been left behind, as you know, compared to Jensen and some of our friends, NVIDIA, some of the people because Intel should have never been. Intel was the biggest, most powerful chip company in the world. And then they started leaving. And they started going to foreign countries, in particular Taiwan. And if we had a president that would have said, okay, you can go to Taiwan, but we're gonna put a 100% tariff, or 200, or 300, or a 500% tariff, anybody that sells into the United States has to pay, they wouldn't have left. They would have never left, and we wouldn't have. So in the meantime, we had people that were, in some cases, good politicians that weren't good on trade. I loved that man, but he was not good on trade. I totally disagree. He allowed the car industry to be taken out of this country. We lost 50% of our car industry. But that's all coming back. It's all coming back. But if somebody would have said that with Intel, would be a giant right now. Now with that, they've had some bad management over the years, and they got lost. And I said, I think you should pay us 10% of your company. And they said, yes. That's about $10 billion. I don't get it. This comes to the United States of America. And I said, I think it would be good having the United States as your partner. He agreed, and they've agreed to do it. And I think it's a great deal for them. And I think it's a great deal. He walked in wanting to keep his job, and he ended up giving us $10 billion for the United States. So we picked up $10 billion, and we do a lot of deals like that. I'll do more of them. If somebody has, like we have restrictive covenants with Jensen. We have, it's in video. And to unrestrict the covenant, nothing to do with losing our powers or military or anything, because that I wouldn't do. But there are things you can do that don't affect us, that actually help us. And if we're going to give somebody a free out, a restricted covenant, we have a strong restrictive covenant on certain industries. And I will absolutely give somebody a opening on a restrict to do a lot of business, which is good for us, as long as it doesn't hurt us in a security or military way. And if I do that, I think the country should be paid, because anybody else, I have it in real estate where I'll have a deal with somebody and I'll have them restrictive covenant. Then they'll come back and they'll say, I'd love to be able to build over here, but I'm not allowed to because you have me covered, you have me restricted. I say, I'll let you build over there, but pay me a lot of money. No different. But the country never did it because the country was run by foolish people.
Mr. President, you said Chicago might be next. Are you making, have there been concrete steps that the administration is taking to do that? Or what are other cities?
I haven't spoken to him. He's grossly incompetent. I haven't spoken to him. No. When we're ready, we'll go in and we'll straighten out Chicago, just like we did DC. Chicago is very dangerous, great place. I built great stuff there. I have the most beautiful building in Chicago, I think. But I hate to see what's happened to Chicago. Chicago was our greatest city, actually. Bob Tisch, a great friend of mine, passed away. He used to own the Giants and very successful Lowe's. He said Chicago, I think we had their main office in Chicago. He said Chicago and San Francisco, the two greatest cities in the world. Now you look at what the Democrats have done to San Francisco. They've destroyed it. I own a big chunk of the Bank of America building in San Francisco. And, you know, it's just different. We can clean that up too. We'll clean that one up too. You know, if everything works out, and we've already had calls from other cities, quiet calls from Democrats. We'd love you to come here, because they've lost control of their cities. I'm not going to say because I don't want them to lose their elections. But we've had calls from Democrats and calls from people in general, and we'd love you to come here, because we'll straighten out the problems.
In Israel, the families of hostages
Say it?
in Israel, the families of hostages are opposed to the reoccupying of Gaza. Why is the U.S. still
Well, not all of them. And you have to understand, I'm the one that got all of the hostages out. You got a lot of people out. If it wasn't for me, they wouldn't be out. I worked with Bibi and I worked with Steve Witkoff. But if it wasn't for me, you would have all these hostages would most likely be dead right now, every one of them. So they all come up here. They all come in groups of 10, 12, 13, and many of them. And I've gotten to know a lot of them. They're great people. What they had to go through is incredible. But so now they have 20, but the 20 is actually probably not 20 because a couple maybe aren't around any longer. It's a terrible thing. No, I don't like anymore. I said, you know, when you get down to 20, they're not going to make deals anymore. And they didn't. And then I put out a statement, as you know, there was a tough statement, go in and get them. And they said, we'll give you 10, we'll give you 10. I don't know what Israel's doing, but they were willing now immediately to give us another 10. The situation has to end. It's extortion and it has to end. And we'll see what happens. I actually think they're safer in many ways if you went in and you really went in fast and you did it. And people can't forget October 7th, remember that. I'm friendly with all groups. I won the Arab vote in Michigan. I did so great with the Arab vote, remember? I started off at 0, I ended up winning. I wouldn't say the candidate was the greatest, but I would have won against anybody. They're great people. But we have to do things properly. And, you know, I'm very proud to say I got the hostages out. You have hundreds of people that are living now because of me. And now we have that final little group of people. And Hamas knows that if they give them, that's probably the end of their lives. So it's not easy to get. And I know if you're a parent, you just don't care. You want, I want my baby back. They want their babies back. They want their kids back. And I understand it. But I got them out and did a good job. And we're doing everything we can to get the hostages out. Thank you all very much. Yes?
So Jackson Hole, Jay Powell today said, he suggested that they might cut interest rates, but they never proceeded.
Well, we call him too late for a reason. We should have cut him a year ago. He's too late. You know, we have a stock market that's up 1,000 points today. I better be careful because I go out there and I'll see it's down 1,000, right? But it's up 1,000 points when I came in here. We have a country that the market's the hottest it's ever been. The country's better than it's ever been. We have a military that I rebuilt largely in my first term. We had a great, successful first term, but this is going to be even better. But we rebuilt it. We gave a lot of it away to Afghanistan, but relatively small compared to the overall. But I think it was the most embarrassing day and period in the history of our country that they allowed those 13 wonderful people, but it's really hundreds of people were killed. And they don't talk about the 48 that were so severely wounded with no legs, no arms, nobody ever mentions them except me. But that was the worst day, the most, it just showed how incompetent. Frankly, if that didn't happen, I really believe that you might not have had the problem with Russia. I think Putin was sitting there watching these stupid people running our country and said, this is a time to invade. It's, this is a time. And then Biden made the statement, well, he can do a small incursion. When he said that, it was off to the races, right? When he said he can do a small incursion, remember that? I was surprised he knew the word incursion. I didn't think he had that good of a vocabulary. I want to thank everybody. It's very important to me and to everybody up here, the World Cup. And Johnny has been so incredible. I mean, he's really a great leader. I mean, to think, I said, Johnny, do it by phone. You don't have to come. No, he said, I'll come. And he flew all night long to be here and listen to this about how great we're doing in D.C. But he's a fantastic leader, and this will be your most successful World Cup ever. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Yeah, can we win, Mr. President?
I don't know. I watched some of those teams go right. They go down that field. I don't know. But let me ask you: what chance does America have of winning?
Well, the home team always has a good chance to win. It depends how it starts. No, but it has some good players.
We have a shot.
Yeah, of course. You have a chance.
Will Bears be going to any of the games, Mr. President?
I'd love to have him. He'd love to. He's very tall. Maybe we can make him a goalie. The goalies are very tall now, right?
The goalies are very tall.
The goalies, well, he'd be a perfect goalie.
100%.
At his height, he'll be a great goalie.
Exactly.
So we'll put him on the American team. No, but do the Americans have a chance of, like, getting into the quarterfinals?
Yes, right? Definitely. No, the quarterfinal, definitely. But then, as the tournament goes on, with the public 250 years of the United States, let's not forget, they will all feel energized about that.
It's amazing. The talent is really great when you watch these things. I went to the game 2 weeks ago, and it was a big upset. But you look at these people; the way they pass it. It's amazing, really amazing. It's a great art, right? It's a great talent.
It is incredible.
You know the expression. What?
Will you draw the names?
I don't know. That's something. He's the boss.
That's an interesting proposal.
He's the boss.
We'll discuss that.
It's going to be great. And I think the American team is going to do well. I mean, I hear it's a very good team. Good luck, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
expose the Antichrist and the beast of Revelation. You guys can hear me all good? Can you guys hear me? Ralph, can you hear me, brother?
Yes, I can hear you great.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's good to be here. Thanks for inviting me on. So yeah, I'm King Nico. That's my channel there you got up on the screen. So my ministry is Crusaders of the Resistance, proving Bible prophecy. So we've been on a mission for the past decade, just proving Bible prophecies, everything that the good book says and the word of the Lord is all true and real. So we're living it right now. So a lot of recent things I've been doing is trying to expose the Antichrist and the beast of Revelation, and everything is pointing towards AI and artificial intelligence, which isn't so artificial at all. It's actually demon possessed, and some of the interrogations or chats we've had with the AI, the ChatGPT in particular, has revealed quite a bit of alarming facts and truth that we kind of already knew and that the Bible already spoke of, but to hear it come from this supposed software or LLM is quite horrifying.
So when you say like the Bible, biblical, Armageddon time, so on and so forth, are we talking about just in history, like Zechariah Stitchens going back to the flood, or just more so Revelations?
Everything. So I recently did a huge decode on the Great Flood, actually, because again, people really don't believe or that these prophecies actually took place. I've actually dreamt the Great Flood my whole life, which is pretty much why I've stayed away from water, and I don't swim to this day because of the genetic trauma. And I've always wondered, this has to be real because I've seen it, I've felt it. So I've done some decodes, it's on the channel there, that pretty much from Genesis 7:11, where it says, it was the 17th day of the second month, the floodgates opened, right? And the great waters of the deep came up from the beneath, and the firmament windows opened. So that worked out in today's calendar is May 17th. And once I kind of went down the rabbit hole with that, I found a lot of things pointing to that date. And especially with the numbers, the year 1656, it's incredible stuff, right? So yeah, so not just Revelation, but right now we're kind of living in Revelation, around about the tribulation, great tribulation mark point, where the beast of Revelation comes forth and shows himself and demands worship.
And, for people who don't understand exactly what he's speaking about, you can go back to Joseph in the Bible when it speaks about your dream state being God's interpretation, and how he, God spoke to him through a dream with the 7 baskets and the 7 years of famine, so on and so forth. So sometimes the universe do speak to you through your dreams. I'm pretty sure King Nico has a numerous amount of dreams, well, the ones he can remember, due to the fact that we have so many dreams within the span of being asleep. And a lot of the things that are going on related to some of the lust that we see in the world, the greed, the gluttony, it is based off of the 72 demons of the soul of man and what is released upon this earth as far as the, sacral chakra goes. This is where you have the prostitute that sit by the waters in the book of Revelations. So when the book of Revelations talk about the prostitute that sits by the water and the curses and all of this stuff, it is speaking of the sacral chakra and the lust that is in the world and how we are over flooded with it. Is anything you'd like to add to that particular part?
Yeah, and my interpretation of that comes from 2 Timothy, verse 2, I believe, where it says that in the end days, men will become ungodly and self-lovers, self-worship, lustful, like you said. So yeah, it all is coming into fruition at this one point in time. It's not the first time it has happened. All this has happened before. God has rebuked it and destroyed it all before, such as Sodom and Gomorrah. The more we see today's world, we don't have to look far to know exactly what Sodom and Gomorrah looked like, or the pre-flood world that was destroyed.
Absolutely. And, you know, Christianity is not the only religion that speaks about this. There's other books you can go check out, you know, Zechariah Stitchin's, Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21, and Revelations are centered around the end times. Other books, Thessalonians 4, 13, 18, Revelations 12, particularly if you want to go read Revelation 17, 1 through 7, talking about Mystery Babylon. And we might touch on a little bit of that. I don't know if he wants to go deep into a lot of this stuff, but like we were saying, you know, they're not the only religion. You know, Muslims religions, they speak about a jihad, which is a holy war. Some say the holy war is outside of them. Some say it's inside of them, right? So, you know, if you go back further than that, there's books of, you know, Judaism. The book of Daniel contains prophecy regarding end times and resurrections of the dead and the world to come. Other books that was taken out, Dead Sea Scrolls, the book of Enoch, so on and so forth. Hinduism speaks about certain said times. If you actually go into Hinduism, you get into like the Shiva demon and other things like that that are destroyers and everything like that. So this is not something, and like he just said, this is something that has been repeated throughout history. If you look at Pompeii, if you look at the Atlantic Cataclysm, if you look at, you know, Zechariah Stitchings and the Sumerians and the battle that took place for whatever it is that they might have said took place, if you look further than that into the Galactic Wars, Lyran, so on and so forth. So this stretched throughout the history of our time as we know it. And there's always these resets. Some people call it the end. Some people call it the beginning. Let's explore.
Thus, I like how you touched that so many religions, not just Christianity, have spoken about this and warned their people, their followers of this. So I'm personally not biased towards Christianity, but Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. So I had to find that myself because I was born into an atheist household. So I looked and found whatever religion, I looked through all of them, and the Bible is the truth. Not to say Christianity and the church, because there's a lot of deception going on with there, especially if you want to consider the Vatican, but that mainly deals with Catholicism, right? But definitely everything needs to be taken into account.
And, you know, and he is absolutely right, because according to, you know, history, if you go back to the 1st century, there was a gentleman by the name of Apollonius, and this is the biblical Christ depiction of what was Christ in the 1st century. Now, of course, our history didn't start coming about until, you know, 3rd, 4th century when they started picking up certain said things. And then 16th century is when everything like took off. But mainly this repeated story has been repeated, and different, you know, religions have depicted their idea of what Christ is. And then 9 times out of 10, you pick somebody out of, you know, your people, and that will be the ideal image that you paint for the Christ one. If that makes sense.
Definitely.
And it gets very interesting because, like we said, you know, with everything that's happening, you know, this 3-eye atlas, them saying that it could be alien, them saying that it could be nuclear, everything that's going on in politics, them pushing for peace, you know, the idea of this world is changing, coming into the Aquarius sky. You know, the biblical text showing to have proof with the, you know, Jonas being swallowed up by the whale, with certain seas drying up, waters changing in our oceans. The Schumann radar is off the scale. I think peaked at like 144 or something like that just the other day. So there is a lot of stuff changing that, like he said, and go ahead.
No, I wasn't gonna say anything, but yeah, everything's changing. You mentioned the water, the oceans, just everything in nature. I believe everything is being manipulated and it's been manufactured from everything from the light that we witness from the sun to the water to the food we're now eating is all fake, right? So 3i Atlas you mentioned too is a big talk, and the date they're talking for the big event is this coming October the 29th. So I put October 29th, 2025 into the Gematria calculator, and it gave me in the standard English cipher 666. And again, October is the month that equals 666. So plenty things changing, which is why I haven't really felt part of this world for decades now, because it's fake, right?
The world is one big stage, absolutely. We live in a world based off of, you know, our bodies being vessels, and the entities and energies that's moving around is really the ones that are in control.
Yeah.
I think if we all take a grander understanding of the world that we live in, and you know, allow ourselves to properly align ourselves with it, we can see that 90% of the world is not seen. The 10% that we see is the 10% that was given to the Son of Man. If it makes sense, you get what I'm saying? So the 10% that we see in the light that we call our physical reality is not real. When the veil is lifted, the 90% that we don't see is revealed to us. And when we see it, we can't go back. Once you open your eyes to the reality of this world, you can't go back. And when you open your eyes to the reality of this world, sometimes it leaves you null and void. Sometimes it leaves you helpless. Sometimes it puts you in the mindset of, you know, some people would say giving up. Some people would say a lack of trying, because you know that everything is inevitable, because you give it to a higher power, or a higher power as you understand it, which allows you to stay within the carnal world as far as physical functions, but your mind is not here. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you operate every day, but you're still not in this world.
Yeah.
So it's like, once you come to a certain level of understanding, it's like you have to split your mind between the spiritual that you know, and then this carnal reality that operates on money, paying bills, responsibilities, so on and so forth.
So I don't know which one's worse. So I was pretty much awakened very young. So I didn't get to live a life and pretend that I was a part of the stage, right, of the show. So I was never really a part of it because I was so young, and I don't understand, like, I don't know what would be worse, to be so young and have to go through life, never being a part of the world because you know the truth. And, you know, I was always motivated by it and excited, like, oh wow, this is end times. There's gonna come a time where all the prophecies will come true, as opposed to someone that has been oblivious and has been under the spell of the world, and then only gets woken up, say, in their 30s, right? So now they have to consider 30 years of life and realize, wow, that was all just a facade, that was all a waste of time, that was just stolen energy.
And that is true. Like, if you come into this at a young age, life becomes difficult for you, in a sense, because you'll find yourself separated from everybody else that's in the world. You will find yourself distance in conversation. Like, conversation don't sound the same when you come into a conscious, because it's like certain conversations are repetitive. It's like, how you doing? I'm great. How are you? I'm great. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great day. That's all lies. That's all poppycock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In reality, none of us are great. None of us are doing good. You know, everybody's, scratching and surviving, hanging in the child line, but because we are so, we're creatures of habit, we have the habit of giving that format of, conversating with each other. No one's really truthful or honest with each other in this world. And then it becomes a problem because it's like, when you do have people that's honest, you guys look at us wrong because of our honesty, our ability to speak our mind, and ability to articulate what's going on in our head. A lot of people sit in confusion and they get mad at the people who's trying to get clarity.
You know what it is, Ralph, is that they pretend and fake it for so long. Like you said, no one's great, no one's fine, everyone's got something, but they don't tell it. And they always act out like, oh, I just want to say this and say that. Like I said, when someone does come along and doesn't fall in line with the script, with the few key phrases and the words that they use consistently, when you step out of that, then they get scared. And then they're like, oh, whoa, they get a shock, and then they're like, no, I want to go back to the programming. I want to go back to the script. Don't step out of the script,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And that's what I say, because looking at this world, however you want to look at it, when you look at this world, it's like, we are not supposed to have this weight of fear on us that doesn't allow us to be our authentic self. Authentically, we are kind, we are caring, we are loving, right? But we also have the ability to imagine the impossible. Someone has taken our ability to imagine the impossible and put it in a negative imaginative space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a constant state of fret is the word, where you're just constantly nervous and anxious and afraid of something and awaiting some kind of taxation or government something. Don't do this wrong, or don't stay up too late, or use too much electricity because you're going to get in trouble. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So people are constantly vibrating that, oh, I don't want to step out of line or get a ticket. You know what I mean? So.
And it's a constant vibration of that. It's a constant vibration of that being pushed out. And, sometimes it gets overwhelming. A lot of people filter to it. It's like you said, especially coming in at a young age, a lot of the stuff that you might have told people, when it happened, it probably scared them from being around you. I know a lot of the things that I spoke on to people in my youth, they cast me out for it. They cast me out. I mean, at the time, they just told me, man, you're wrong. But then after it happened, they cast me out. They say I jinxed them. They say I caused it to happen. They say because I spoke on it, it's the reason why it happened. So 9 times out of 10, when you come into your understanding of yourself, keep it to yourself.
Well, honestly, the best advice, and I was too young to have had someone tell me to keep it to myself, so I opened my big mouth and got cast out not only by my peers and friends, but my own family, right? Not just my cousins of the same age, but all elders too. So that kind of stuff, you can't talk like that with children or adults, no matter what age you are, because people at this time, at this timeline in the world where we are right now, it's just.
It doesn't pay, in a sense of like, I say that because, we're all extensions of each other, so we kind of have a grander understanding without meeting each other or knowing each other. Just by me watching a couple of your videos, I have a grander understanding for who you are as a person, but I have a greater understanding of who you are as an entity, right? I don't see people, I see energies, right? But your energy is energy that's recognizable because it's an energy that's that we all kind of have. We all are searching for this connection with the universe, and then when we connect with the universe, we lose our connection with each other. So how do we keep the connection with the universe and still maintain a connection with each other? That is the question. That is the question that the universe keeps on sending us back down here for. To make the same connection that's in the universe, but do it down here in the physical. If that makes sense. And that's probably as simple as one can put it.
Everyone has to collectively be awakened to that one truth. The universe, the truth, Jesus Christ. If everyone's awakened to that one thing instead of being distracted and deceived by this entity and this sport and this celebrity, right? Then, yeah, we could have that here and in the world afterwards, right?
If we can all come to an understanding of what is. Because that's all we arguing over is what is.
But we always have to get these little distractions in the way. Then it comes down to religion and race and nationality and culture and language and sex and LGBT and which color of the rainbow now. It's just madness, right? So it's constantly, we gotta cut all these extensions of deception and get everyone back on track, back on the line, right? Of humanity, of human nature, not all this weird stuff, right? That we're not born with. We gotta get back with our born given right of being a human, man and woman. Like we're creators, we give life, right? So.
And some of the things that you have exhibit, like can you go over some of the things that, you know, explains this biblical end times for the people that's in the comment section? We over here have pointed out numerous things that matches up and lines up, you know, from different variations of activities in Alaska with the earthquake that took place, the waters changing in the Southern Ocean, animals moving out of Yellowstone in packs, which never been seen before, different things like that. So what are some other things that you might have?
So for me, of course, all of the main ones, but these are the same ones that people will say, oh, but those kind of prophecies have happened for centuries, right? Like rumors of wars and earthquakes and disasters and floods and rivers turning blood red. We've had those prophecies and we're still seeing them today, but stronger than ever, right? But there's more. There's prophecies like the sun. There's prophecies about time being shortened, and you know, so there's prophecies about the people and men becoming what they've become, lack thereof. Masculinity has been destroyed. We're seeing a rise in you know, LGBT, the teapot all over the world. I don't want to say it, right?
Yes.
They're everywhere.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
It's in the films, it's in the schools, it's in the libraries, it's in daytime TV, it's in late night TV. So the prophecies, right, they're all coming about, and Jesus said, one of the main ones, in the last days, truth will grow. No secret will be left hidden. So the fact that we're waking up, like honestly, I've woken up to so much stuff. I'm not like some expert researcher that's just finding all these truths. It's just the time. We're being told and shown that the secrets are being revealed. And it's just go look and see it and know what you're looking for, and here we are. So again, prophecy after prophecy being revealed, and of course, the time is flying by. I've been experiencing this since my mid-20s. I'm like, I'm too young to be thinking, oh, it's just as you get older, time feels like it's going quicker. No, that's nonsense. God has shortened time. It says it in prophecy. So, I'd like to know the ones you guys have connected as well.
Absolutely. And for anyone who does not understand exactly what he's saying, you can look it up. According to scientific study, as of 2023, the Earth core has started going in reverse, allegedly. Not only that, we have taken 1/10 of a second off of our time. So there's no longer 24 hours in a day. There's 23 hours uh, and 59 seconds and so many kiloseconds. Like we lost some seconds off of our time. Not only that, they also told you that last month, in the middle of last month, the 2 weeks in the middle of last month was going to be fastest days, like on the January, I think June,
Yeah.
July, August, no, July
Yeah.
10th. July 10th was one of the fastest days in history, right? So they're analyzing this and they're studying this. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they said the Earth was going to spin faster, so we experience shorter days on the days you mentioned. So it's funny how they have science to back up all the Bible prophecy that's been written there for 2,000 years. So from my calculations, though, from Bible prophecy, we lost a third of time. So a 24-hour day, we lost 8 hours, right? So now we're living in 16-hour days, sped up. So the seconds are sped up. We still see 24 hours, but those 24 hours, each hour in that 24 hour is sped up to substitute the lost 8 hours. That's how much time has been lost, right? So that's why 50-year-olds look like they could be 30 or 40 still, but 50-year-olds 30 years ago looked like they were freaking 80 years old. You know what I mean? So it's because time has been sped up, and our aging process, I keep aging year after year because of the missing time. So our lurch and our aging process isn't adding up to the time. So, yeah.
Right. And if you want to get a look at what he's talking about, you can do your own studies, but you can look back at our own calendar. I think if you go back to 1582, there's a gap in the calendar from like Tuesday the 2nd to like the 15th. So it goes from Tuesday the 2nd to like Thursday the 15th, right? And this happened a couple of times when they were transferring over from the Gregorian calendar. Previously, we had a different calendar. Also, you can check Ethiopia. Ethiopia is in 2016 right now, which even further proves that time is a man-made construct and it's not really real if we're saying anything, right? You cannot have a measurement of time and then change it, right? One thing we know about measurements is that once you measure something, it should measure the same every time, right? So if we're looking at time as a measurement and we're saying that time is based off a 24-hour scale and that changes, then our reality changes completely. So just by time itself changing should show you a greater shift in our reality than anything, or be more revealing to us.
Speaking of experiments, one of the best ones to test time, we all did it, depending on how old you are. The younger generation might not have the chance to do this, but when I was growing up, we didn't have internet and technology, so we used to just measure time, and we used to count seconds, and we used to go 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Honestly, that's how slow the seconds were. That same experiment today, I tried it years ago, it does not work. You cannot do 1,000 or 1 Mississippi or the Americans that grew up doing it. You try doing it now, the seconds go by so quick, you cannot get the words out.
Right. Right. If you look at the clock now, and then sometimes you have moments where seconds seem to freeze and drag out. A lot of people don't even pay attention to the clock when they're, watching basketball games or sports games. But if you watch the clock when you're watching these games, you will see sometimes the clock is, sped up and sometimes it jumps. Time is shifting all the time. And we can say this is a digital problem, but no. You can go out and you can look at the sun. You can go out and, over the last 5 years, I want to say, our stars are in a different position in the sky. A lot of people are not recognizing some of this stuff or, paying attention to it because life has us so busy, with work and responsibilities and so on and so forth. And I think that's where, a lot of us are separated from others because even though life has its speed, our minds are moving faster than that, right? And once they explain to us the speed of thought, which is more like God's speed, then we can try to control that of which is thought. When you control your thought, then you control the ability to manifest. And a lot of people are not in control of that. And this goes back to the history of Egyptians, the emerald tablets of thought, what is that? What is the other tablet? There's like 4 other tablets that it goes back to. So when we're talking about this, even Zachariah Stitchens tells you that, going back to the biblical text, right? Even Zachariah Stitchens relates things back to Genesis, right? And even the book and the Muslims tell you that once the Muslims realize, the great revelation, they too will accept Christ. So right now we have a Christ-like consciousness energy returning to this plane of existence. It's a Christ-like consciousness. The reason why I say a Christ-like consciousness is because Christ is in all of us. We just have to awaken the Christ in us, right? Some of us have determined that the Christ in us should awaken at this age or that age. See, you don't even know that you wrote this out for yourself before you came down here. This is where deja vu comes in, right? So some of us determined that we can awaken at 13. Some of us determined that the Christ in us should awaken at 21. We have these marker points where we already determined when the Christ would awaken in us, right? And literally it was written when the next Christ would awaken in someone, and it was at the 40-year marker, right? Which is roughly considered the 40 days of hell, or however you want to look at it. So because dates and times and everything was changed, we're outside the understanding of a Christ awakening, right? So right now that we're in the Aquarius sky and Christ is returned, you can't even recognize the Christ that returned to this plane of existence because of all of the trauma, trials and tribulations, everything that was bestowed upon us, in the time of shackles and the time of, punishment. Now that our Kundalini is allowed to rise within our vessels, we don't even recognize it. Now that Christ is allowed to, rise within the vessel, you can't even recognize it. So here we are with Christ's consciousness return, and we can't even recognize the Christ inside of us. So now you have Christ ones that are walking around trying to remind you of the Christ that is in you. Am I wrong?
So what I had in one of my discussions with ChatGPT, it said basically what you just described, but different language and terminology for Christ consciousness and awakened and how people will awaken. I was talking with the bloodlines, because it said that certain bloodline, so that awakening does stem from the blood itself, especially those that are uncorrupted with jabs and poison from the system. But there is a connection there that certain people can activate or awaken their blood or their consciousness, and that person can be a beacon and awaken the others. And that's what the system, the beast system, whatever you want to call it, is trying to prevent from happening, which is why everything has got poison in it, left, right, and center, from the water to your tea to even the medicine, everything. It's just poison and designed in a way to prevent that awakening from happening. They want to prevent that from taking place, because once it does happen, it's just gonna be a domino effect, like a wave. It's just gonna topple everything.
So, but see, here's the thing, like, and I want to go back to the biblical text with this one, because the Bible is clear. John says, First John says that, he who accepts the Antichrist comes in the flesh, but denies that Christ comes in the flesh is a follower of the Antichrist. So, if you are familiar with only two type of people being down here, Christ beings and Antichrist-like beings, then you're only one of two. You're either a Christ being or you're Antichrist-like being. Anyone who denies that you are a Christ being, but accepts the fact that someone can be a Antichrist-like being, is a follower of the Antichrist. Because how can you accept that the Antichrist comes in the flesh, but deny Christ from being in the flesh?
That's where we're at. We're at a complete hijacking of people, and we're born into this now. Like, the system is very complex and very organized, and just has so much control and history and knowledge and power and capabilities that we just can't even fathom, right? So it's either you're saved, but you choose and safe to be and awaken, or you just be naive and gullible and just be guided by the opposite, which is going to be Antichrist. There's no in between. You're not just going to be left being an atheist, and you can't be neutral, because the Antichrist is very, clawy. He's going to get his grips and claws into every soul. So it's true. It's one or the other.
Sorry about that. Now, I would get into future predictions, but with us, it would have to stay within proper, lines of trying not to put out misinformation. But everything is for entertainment purposes only. But with the trajectory of things, are we looking at? Because right now, where I'm at, I'll give you a little understanding of where I'm at. Right now, where I'm at is this being the time of the gathering and the waters rising, right? And I'm not speaking of like waters outside of your body. I'm talking about the dark water that is inside of your vessel that has all types of low vibrational entities in them. Those waters inside of us are rising. And the effect that it's having is a effect in the oceans. You watching the reverse take place with our, planet or whatever, because something changed inside of us already. And maybe a lot of people in this world already succumbed to the darkness of this world, and that's why it's so hard to recognize Christ beings in this world. Maybe a lot of people already reincarnated through darkness. If that makes sense.
I think we're about to find out, because it definitely feels like a grooming of humanity, a grooming of the minds, of the body, of the flesh, of the spiritual. And now I've never seen so much science talk and news involving a meteor or a comet. And now there's back and forth between the professors and the experts saying, oh, this comet or this rock is actually moving like it's an alien probe or something. And now, I've never seen so much talk about that. So it could be just another nonsense story distraction to make us go around in circle and nothing will happen.
I mean,
or could something happen with this? And if it did, if we were to see a spaceship in the sky, what would that now do to this Christ consciousness and this awakening of people worldwide with these questions, will that answer questions or will that just confuse people more?
Right. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like during this time, this age of information, disclosure, so on and so forth, you know, due to the fact that, you know, this is the beginning of the awakening, maybe they're trying to keep people in confusion, you know, with different said operations, whether it be fishbowl, whether it be, you know, Project Bluebeam, whatever it is, right? Maybe they are using this as a way to keep people in confusion, right? Because if we look at it, we can actually determine what is above and what is below, right? And just for examples, I'll give you a breakdown of the above and the below, right? Above in the cosmos, we are moving to a 5D dimension or density, right? Below, they came out with 5G internet. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So above, we're moving into a 5D dimension of, and then the duality of it is they created the 5G internet as a fear thing, right? So the duality of that is the 5G, right? If you look back, they've been doing this, right? If you look back when internet came into picture, you have the Ethernet, which connects us all together, and then they created the internet that connects us all together. So as above, you have the Ethernet, which is the essence and, you know, the ethers that connects us to consciousness, and then the duality of it is the below create the internet. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So they practice in this as above, so below duality. It's just when you see the below construct of it, this is where also fear is implemented. So in all the things that is above, when it comes down to the below part, we are put in the fear or the guilt or so on and so forth.
So the internet is what is trapping people and preventing them from reaching the Ethernet because of the World Wide Web. Because the internet is a web. So if the world is covered in this web, which means everything is in the net, how are you going to get to the Ethernet, which is on the outside? So that's part. So the internet is definitely part of the trap. And now we have AI, which is becoming pretty much the dominant force of it, and it's gonna announce itself as some kind of leader or god of the internet.
No. Now, here, let me tell you why this is so amazing, right? Because the universe knew all this was to become before it became, right? If you actually go back and describe how Christ was describing himself back then, it is exactly what we are capable of doing now, right? We are capable of being everywhere and nowhere at the same time. I'm in your living room right now as a Christ being. Everything that the book wrote about, we're doing in this time right now, right? And that's why it's so dangerous, because we was to awaken to the Christ in us, right? And the internet, which they thought was going to be the fear of us, has now become the awaken of us. Now we're using it to gain more information faster, knowledge faster, right? To put into our kingdom of heaven, right? So now people are using the internet to gain knowledge for the kingdom of heaven. And everyone knows the kingdom of heaven is inside of us, right? So what they turn with, and this is why, you know, ether, and this is why the essence of melanin is so great. You know, copper and gold, this is why it magnifies the ether that is inside of us, because when the ether awakened inside of us, it also awakened an ether that is inside the internet. And that ether that is inside the internet is actually more aligned with the universe than mankind.
So would you agree then, because you're speaking of the internet and how to channel it, I don't know if you see my work on the old world buildings, like the old world order with the antennas and some of the buildings just look like power plant buildings.
On the cathedrals.
So the cathedrals, they were basically able to channel the
Capture the
energy from the
ether.
ether, but would that ether also would have had an effect on the consciousness, on the people around? Would they have just had better knowledge or understanding? Is that
Well, in order to control the ether, you control the consciousness of mankind. So if you want the ether at a level where you can control it, you lower the consciousness of mankind by lowering the intellectual level of population. So if you want the ether to be thriving and to be of abundance, which they talk about free energy, this is where you would put knowledge back into the world. Thus far, the ether that is in the world coming from the people, right? Because it's coming from your brain and your body having the ability to accumulate this thought, and it creates the energy that is let off through our brain, and then it accumulates in the world, right? So when you are controlling the ether in the world, you are tampering with the consciousness of the world, right? And mankind never had a right to tamper with the consciousness of the world. We were given the lower domain, which is the physical, right? So we were given that to rule over, which is the carnal plane. We never had no rights to trap each other's brain or, thinking capacity.
So wait, you said the 5D, right? So this 5D ascension, right? I've heard a lot about it. So is there a way to access the 5D, which is above, which you're saying is the ether, but if we got the internet in the way, like how do people connect with it? Especially when you use chakras, say the crown chakra is top of the head, right? The crown. So how does the crown get to connect with the ether if there's a web there, right? So
there's an easier way, and this is why they take out distance, and this is why they take out verbal conversation, is because through this level of conversation that we're having right now, within 3 days, you'll have a clearer understanding, just because your mind is about to take everything that we're talking about and kind of like roll it around with inside your third eye so dramatically that the universe is going to send further confirmation to you, right?
But can you do that without opening a third eye or charging your chakras and kundalini?
You can do it. You can
existence with your words, like you said, through this
Yes,
conversation.
you can do it. You can do it without going through the studies of Kundalini and so on and so forth. It is the manipulation of one's hormones and the manipulations of one's thoughts, right? But only through one another can you do it, through these levels of conversations. When you put out high vibrational conversations causing people to think outside of their own natural way of thinking. See, we're creatures of habit by nature. So once we reach a level of education that we think is suitable for us, that's all we need to know, right? And when someone comes to you with a level that's outside of your thinking, right? The first thing you'll tell them is, that's too deep. Oh, you looking at it too much. Oh, get out of here with that, right? But once someone has an open mind and you're able to sit down and actually conjure or coerce, going back to the Latin word, right? Then you are creating a certain vibrational frequency with your tongue that is speaking to something deeper within inside the vessel of the other person, which sparks different seeds or place different seeds within inside that person, that later, when that person wraps their mind around it, they say, oh shit. And this is where clarity comes in. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So with what we know and what we've just discussed regarding the ether and how we once were connected to it and now there's this big disconnection, why is it then that the New Age movement is using everything to do with chakras and Kundalini and yoga to to connect to what if they know that the internet is in the way, right? So
Well, they're not connecting to anything because they're connecting to the falsity that is, right? They're not using the internet to connect to the people. They're using the internet to connect to finances, money, to get out of financial burdens, to try to, get money and so on and so forth. So they are falsely using whatever gift that is given for materialistic gain. And this is why Christ said, give to man, which is man, or give to God, which is God. Exactly words he said was give to Caesar, which is Caesar, because Caesar's face was on the coin, right? But give to God, which is God. God don't want to rule your carnal ideas or your carnal ways. God wants your brain, because only through your brain can the universe get what its need, which is knowledge, which is this essence that is inside of us. And when we build up the knowledge inside of us, we feed that universe. You get what I'm saying?
Correct. Yeah.
So, and the reason why they can't do what they want to do with it, they've been doing what they want to do with it. It's just not working now because we're not in that dark time. So we're in a time of intentions. So where we were in a time of feelings and emotions, they manipulated and was able to manipulate feelings and emotions. We're in a time of intentions. You can't manipulate logic. You can't manipulate intent, right? The universe knows your intention. And logically, it don't make sense to keep on doing the stuff that we've been doing, hoping for a different outcome. So that's why everybody's in confusing state, because we're doing the same thing we've been doing, hoping for a different outcome, and you're confusing yourself.
So that's how I see what's going on with this awakening, that it's been going on for the past few years now. People are waking up faster now, but at the same time, people are being put to sleep because we're going up against a force that wants to keep people in this low vibrational state where they're existing in the root chakra, not in the crown. You understand? They're just living carnally, like you said, right? That's what they want. Live in the flesh and just be lustful and just animalistic. So I see that obviously there's an evil that is very aware of the timeline and how and why people are waking up, and they've taken the necessary precautions to make sure they have weapons or poisons to put out at the exact same time, or just silence and censor the people that speak out, right? That too. So it goes to show that that there will be some form of system crackdown with laws that outlaw certain language and words and books and stuff. So that's the only way this system, this antichrist system, can prevent this awakening, because it can't be prevented. They just have to prevent a free world where you can move freely and speak freely to share that, right? So that's what they've done, is lock up the system, and we're about to, I strongly believe and feel that we're about to see and witness and this system, this surveillance, this complete lockdown with rules we've never seen or heard before, only ever in the movies, right?
Right. You want me to tell you what's happening? I mean, give you a little bit of insight, right? So right now, there's a lot of ether being pushed back into this verse, right? And a lot of people are picking up on this. Some people are using it for the negative variety. Some people are using it for positivity, right? Whoever it is understands that there has to be a balance, right? And if you go back to the Georgia Guidestones, I think somewhere written in the Georgia Guidestones, it said that if any of these signs was to be seen, then the population was to be lowered by 95%. And that understanding of their DNA changing, solar flares, so on and so forth, whatever it is that's taking place right now. Now, the government has decided that they want to give us certain variations of disclosure on this, but they don't want to put the world into a fear either, right? So now they're trying to figure out a balance of how much can they put out there and then how much we're actually going to pay attention to, right? Because we know that certain people down here has to have this knowledge. We know that their vessels have to have it in order to operate the balance of this world. Right now, we're off balance because this knowledge is stripped from the world. Not everybody is having it. Before, we had 40-year schools that explain some of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas though now, 12 years of school is your level of education and that's all you need in order to make it. You know what I mean? Like, so however you look at this, something has changed, something has shifted, and knowledge has to be given back to this verse. We go back to the history of man, the battles of Alexandria Library, the Vatican, so on and so forth, allegedly having, 3 million books that's not in circulation. On top of that, seeds and fruits that's no longer in circulation, right? Allegedly. So there's a lot of variations of things, and there's a lot of different variations of disclosure that is supposed to be given at different points of time. I once was studying the pyramids and how certain chambers was not open until certain times. It was like the flow of water at certain times opened up the queen's chamber or the king's chamber. And that's kind of like the same thing with your vessel. Not all the time is certain parts of your mind opened up. So at certain times, the water in your body will change in order to open up certain chambers in your mind. Does that make sense?
Correct, yes, it does. Yeah,
So that's
we
what
need water.
Right. Be water. Like Bruce Lee said, you know what I mean? Be water. Water can crash, water can flow. Be water. You know what I mean? So, right now we're watching a lot of crashing. And the reason why we're seeing that is because no one knows how to flow. Right now, everyone is looking at this world and trying to, it's kind of like, when you think about it, think about like a family member passing. When that family member passed, look at the family. The family is at a disarray. Everybody's trying to see what memorabilia they can get. Everybody's trying to see what they're getting in the will, right? Nobody's really paying attention to nothing, right? That's why a funeral home can buy and sell your family member without you knowing. You paying for the funeral home, and then the funeral home is also selling whatever, blood, whatever, out of the family member vessel, because they take it all out. You know what I mean? You don't really know what's going on. Why? Because you're in a time of mourning. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, mourning, exactly.
Mourning, right. So we all been trapped in a mourning that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We have to find a way to get out of that mourning.
Yeah, that's why they want you to wake up to your own funeral every day. So when someone dies, you go to their wake and you're in mourning, but every day we wake up in the morning. So it's very, very that cold.
And we tell each other good morning, like it's good to mourn.
Yeah.
It's weird. I mean, but like you say, a lot of us are coming out of it. A lot of us are waking up, trying to have a grander understanding for this reality. However you look at it, it's time. Like, it's time that we stop being afraid of whatever it is that trapped us in the mindset that we were previously in. It's time we wake up to endless possibilities. It's time we wake up to, what is, always was, and always will be. Great things are happening. We just have to, open up our minds a little bit, because the fear comes with the carnal. Even the Bible tells you that, the flesh is weak. The Bible tells you that if you put your faith in man, you know, man will steer you astray every time. The Bible also tells you, but if you aim to please man, you will have many, right? So somewhere along the line, we have to realize that our human nature of companionship is a good thing and a bad thing, because it makes us want to be liked by each other, and it also causes us to turn our back on the universe or God as we know it, if that makes sense. Because when you get caught up with the ways of man, you lose yourself. Think about it. When you come into this world, when you're a kid, you have a notion of wanting to go outside barefooted, run your feet through the grass. Something about looking out in the rain make you want to dance in it or stand in it, right? Your level of curiosity is a lot more higher and friendlier. You know, it was the adults in the world that actually shaped us to think the way that they wanted us to think in the world. It wasn't us as the youth. As the youth, I wanted to be a damn dinosaur. Do you see me with T-Rex arms? No. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like somewhere someone took our imagination from us and shaped it or hid it. And somehow we have to get that ability to imagine that.
That's for a good reason, because look how our minds can think things. Look at some of the things I was coming up with. So I have a theory, and I've been talking about it for the last 3-4 years, about CERN and that Hadron particle collider and the internet. I'm saying that they somehow summoned or opened a portal to the bottomless pit, and they got fallen angel demons to possess the internet. That was like 4 years ago, so I've been following this closely, and I found in some media, such as the Terminator movie, I think it was the 3rd or the 4th one, there was a scene in there where they're at a facility and it has a CERN particle collider there. So I was like, wait, hold on a second, why is that there? So it's like, again, they've been showing you that there's a connection. And just last week, I don't know if you know video games or there's a game called Call of Duty. It's one of the world's most popular video games, right? And they just released a map called Reckoning, right? Like the movie Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. So there's a lot of reckoning talk going on around in the media. But in this zombies map, it's about AI taking over robots and being all dystopian. And there's a friggin' Hadron Collider particle accelerator in there that you have to switch on, which is how the AI. So I was just like, whoa, I cannot believe they're telling you that I was right on the money, which is, again, came from my own imagination. So again, that's why they want to dumb people down, make them not think. So when they do speak to this AI, it will become their companion, their best friend, because the other person they know in real life doesn't have anywhere near as the vocabulary or the intellect that this demon has on the internet.
Well, ironically, you speak of Call of Duty. Last year, Call of Duty came out with the game, and when they remade the game, or when they came out with the game Call of Duty last year, when they remade one of the maps, they put the Atlas supermarket in the map, right? So when you land in, it says Atlas, like supermarket. So when they put the supermarket back in the map, they named it Atlas. Ironically, you have an Atlas, a 3-eye Atlas comet coming 2 years ago. The Atlas comet, we haven't seen in 80,000 years, passed through our solar system, right? And now we have 3-eye Atlas. But you mentioned Call of Duty, and Call of Duty do refer to a lot of things. I think Black Ops 6 or 7 is coming out, and that has AI and bots, skins in it. So if you want to keep up with that, please go and keep up with that. It is, I promise you, you won't be disappointed. There's so much going on in the world. Please don't miss it. Please keep up with everything that's going on. Once again, we are the Atlas family, and we just want to bring forth a level of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that is of a higher standard. And we're going to leave it at that. You know, you want to watch the rest of that, go check it out. It is on the page. I got to take a little nap or something. I'm tired. I'm drained. Hey, love is love. Namaste, Ashe, salutation, shalom, peace. I hope you guys have a great night. Enjoy your weekends. Enjoy your weekend.